Hey there, Farhana. My name's Andrew, and I'm the essay corrector here at IELTSpodcast.com. Each time a student submits a piece of work, I'm the one that reads through it and comments on how well you responded to the task, how well you structured your essay, as well as providing some grammatical corrections and some suggestions for more academic and precise phrasings. So thanks for writing up this trial correction on international marketing. So let's get things straight first. What is international marketing? It is advertising your products in different countries. So we need to specifically talk about the act of marketing, the act of advertising products overseas. Is it invasive and intrusive, or does it provide an economical form of education? So let's have a look at your introduction and see how you covered this question. So this should be whether. Arguments exist on both sides of whether international marketing is desirable or not. Try not to use obviously. If it were obvious, we wouldn't be writing about it. In a free market economy, it bears fruits of immense benefit for consumers across borders. I would say so these are conflated. Benefit for consumers across borders and superior products don't go together, do they? So what we could say we could leave this bit out. It bears fruits of immense benefit for consumers across borders either by providing superior products or by the provision of superior products. On the other hand, domestic industries, conservative nationalistic populations, and reactionary intellectuals may find their heritage, culture, and domestic economy being hurt. In my opinion, it is the politically and economically superior I would say party here is enough, and this comma is not necessary. So in my opinion, it is the politically and economically superior party who reaps the benefits of international marketing strategies. And then we need a comma, because we switch to a different subject, submissive smaller countries. And submissive smaller countries always find themselves and we don't need a comma just to separate two things in a list, we just use and. Culturally and ideologically invaded. Countries. Another thing, I would use things like this instead of saying always. Because to say always or never is a bit of a generalization. It's almost never true. So we need to talk about the fact that it's most people, or it's in the majority of cases, and not just everyone. So here you've created a very complex introduction, and I would normally recommend keeping them quite short to give yourself the time to develop your body paragraphs properly. So here we could have just said, while some people perceive international marketing as undesirable as a result of its invasive nature into target countries' cultures, others see it as a necessary form of education in that it freely spreads language, culture, and ideas around the world. Personally, I believe, and then for this bit, I would recommend choosing rather than, because remember, this is not an intelligence test, this is an English language test. So rather than choosing such a complex and difficult to support opinion, I would just side with one of the arguments. It's much more effective for this exam just to pick a side. It keeps your argument simpler and it makes it easier to write. So just side with one of the existing arguments rather than trying to craft a complex middle ground. So when industries produce goods, they, and I would use require instead of need. They require marketing as a tool to secure mind share of the target population. Yes, but we should avoid using industry jargon. Industry jargon is the language used by the professionals of that industry simply because of their exposure to it, and it tends not to be known by people outside of that industry. And as essays are intended to be read by a wider audience than just people in that industry, it's advisable to stay away from industry jargon. So if you want to use industry jargon, you can use it, but you must define it beforehand. So what we could say is consumer awareness, because that is essentially what mindshare is. To secure, and it would be consumer awareness in the target population. So as a topic sentence, I feel that this might be slightly off topic. So now we're talking about why industries require marketing. But what we've been asked to discuss is it invasive or is it valuable? So I will hope that Yeah, so having read this paragraph now, what we've done is we've talked in detail about how international marketing happens and why it happens. This paragraph needs to be clearer and more in support of one of these sides of the argument. So let me just correct your grammar, but this paragraph, remember, we get an introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. The introduction delves into the question and tells us what 2 ideas we intend to discuss. We use the first body paragraph to discuss one idea, the second body paragraph to discuss the second idea, and then we come to a reasoned conclusion. The 2 ideas in this question are international marketing is invasive and intrusive, and international marketing is a valuable form of education. So to discuss why industries need international marketing is a little bit off topic. But again, let me just move through and correct your grammar. Sometimes it is economical to produce only one, I would just say, standardized advertisement and run it in different countries. And then I would use a semicolon here. However, different barriers exist internationally when approval from certain authorities is required. This would have to be something like, is required to confirm that the advert is appropriate and decent. Approval from certain authorities is required to confirm that the advert is appropriate and decent in terms of the culture in question, let's say. Because this just feels a little bit incomplete. Here I would use similarly. Different lobby groups may influence government officials to approve such advertisements. For example, Indian products are advertised and marketed invasively into the market of Bangladesh on the basis of similar cultural expectations. On the contrary, no Bangladeshi products can be marketed in India without going through tremendously rigorous vetting and inspection. I would say most of the Indian market is impenetrable, be it cinema, consumer goods, or healthcare. See, this is where we actually start to get to the point, but what I would have done is used a topic sentence that described this point. So something like, maybe if we started with this but changed it slightly. So we could, for the first sentence, we could say, often it is economical to produce one standardized advertisement and run it in every country, or as many countries as possible. However, this can impact a country's, or this can impact or offend a country's culture, religion, and sense of decency. For example, and then give the example, and then round it off by saying, it is therefore clear that international marketing, in some cases, can be invasive and intrusive. So I tend to recommend using 4 sentences. A topic sentence, a sentence to give the specifics of your idea, a supporting example, and then a sentence at the end just to explain what you mean in terms of the question. Because now we've done a very complex intro, we've written too much for this paragraph, and so this paragraph is not developed. So this again is a generalization. All good quality marketing. So the majority of good quality marketing nowadays is one word. Good quality marketing has good humanitarian or benevolent ideas. Sometimes new ideas can be introduced which are unrelated to the product itself. For example, living together without marriage can be made acceptable on a subconscious level through these marketing materials in a conservative society such as in the Middle East. We should round that off and say something like, international marketing in this context. Actually, we don't need that comma. A useful form of cultural education. Although it could easily be perceived as the opposite. So sticking close to the question, commenting only on the question that we've been asked. With greater accessibility into different markets through social media and internet, or the internet, it is not as difficult as before to enter let's say to advertise internationally. And per se, internationals. Per se is actually like that because it's of Greek Latin origin. English is a strange language in that it's not just its own language. We have adopted words and phrases from many other languages. So per se is a Greek Latin phrase. Resisting new ideas, popular values, cultural intrusions will continue. See, again, we've gone a bit complex here. First of all, that try to keep your argument simple and to the point. You don't need to impress people with your argument. You need to impress the examiner with how clearly and precisely you express a point that is exactly related to the question that you've been asked. So produce a simpler intro that just covers the question, gives your opinion, and briefly covers what you will talk about below. Use the 2 body paragraphs to introduce, expand, support, and explain 2 separate points related to the question, and then produce maybe a 2-sentence conclusion that just recovers your points and reaffirms your opinion. But if you'd like to continue receiving these sorts of corrections, you can subscribe to our sentence guide course, the link to which is on this very page you're staring at right now. The course comes with a full set of content to describe to you in detail how to write these essays, as well as 8 essay corrections from me, so that over that time we can raise you to above a band 7. I do hope to be seeing some more of your work coming through soon, but until then, have a great day and goodbye for now.